Good evening or good morning, wherever you are, Airwell Champions. You are checked in with Ameer and Naseer. And before we get started with today's video, family, as always, I wish you all inner wealth, which we know is the overall state of our holistic health, family. So today is part 2 of a 2-part video series concerning hydration. And today's video will be divided into 5 different phases, all right? So I'm going to start off with, how water is simply not sufficient when we think about hydration. Then I'll go into some of the main electrolytes that are lost through sweat. Afterwards, I'll go over some of the physiological implications of dehydration, some hydration assessments, and then overall why hydration is crucial for athletes. So let's start with water and why water is not sufficient alone. So water is definitely important. It definitely plays a role in hydration, but prior to I get into why water alone is not sufficient, it's important to note that for general guidelines, for men, 16 cups of water is preferred daily, and for women, it's 12 cups. But the reason why water alone is not enough is because for an athlete or an active individual who's moving consistently, he or she sweats, and through sweat, athletes or active individuals, they deplete levels of various electrolytes that are within the body. And so that leads me to my next point, which is the electrolytes that are lost through sweat. That includes, it's about 5 main electrolytes. You have sodium, chloride, you have potassium, magnesium, and calcium. And sodium is of increased interest for athletes because it is the one electrolyte that is lost the most through sweat. And it's also important to note that sodium also, helps balance extracellular fluid, whereas potassium helps with fluid balance on an intracellular level, right? And so again, water is not enough because, you do want to maintain those, electrolyte stores within your body, which are depleted through sweat when an athlete or active individual is gaining exercise or competition or training, right? And then of course, I just reviewed those key electrolytes to look out for, especially sodium. So athletes and active individuals should opt for, fluids and liquids that contain a sufficient amount of electrolytes, when considering one's training needs, training schedule, performance needs, performance goals, right? So next, I'm going to talk about some of the physiological implications of dehydration, right? Remember, dehydration was one of the terms we covered in part 1 of this 2-part video series. So now here are some of the physiological implications. Number 1, it's important to note that, dehydration causes a loss of blood fluid volume, which is, of course, that's something we don't want for an athlete because we need oxygen being supplied to our muscles, right? The oxygen will support the muscle functioning, the muscle contractions, and without oxygen being transported to the muscles, an athlete's energy stores not only are depleted quickly, but the muscle contractions then experience dysfunction, and that is an athlete's worst nightmare, right? And so again, you have a loss of fluid blood volume, and then you have an increase in carbohydrate oxidation, heart rate, core temperature, and also increase in muscle glycogen use. And again, with an increase in muscle glycogen use, the athlete's, glycogen stores are being depleted, which means the athlete will eventually experience, burnout, will experience a depletion in overall energy availability, impairing his or her performance, right? So now we've touched upon why water isn't enough. I provided some of those key electrolytes that athletes should look for, and then I discussed the physiological implications of dehydration. Now, next, I want to discuss some of those key hydration assessments that you can use, or if you were to work with a sports nutritionist or dietitian, they usually use these assessments. So they are as follows. You have a assessment of urine color, urine-specific gravity test, you have sweating rate, and change in body mass, right? So there are more, but those are some of the key assessments and also some of the first assessments that come to mind for me. And I do want to hone in on at least one of those. So for example, with the urine color, assessment for hydration, this one you want, so the urine color, if it's light yellow, close in color to lemonade, this is a clear indicator that you're well hydrated. But once it starts to get darker, if you see dark yellow urine, that is an indication that you are dehydrated. So urine color, definitely you want to, pay attention to that. And of course, the other assessments I mentioned, your specific gravity test, you have the change body mass index and sweating rate are also, key assessments that are used when sports nutritionists or dietitians are evaluating their athletes for hydration levels and whether they're hydrated or dehydrated. And then lastly, family, I do want to include just overall concepts and reasons for why hydration is important and crucial for athletes. Number one, hydration is really important for athletes just due to overall health, right? So even, let's first take ourselves outside of, competing, competition, training. Overall, we need to be hydrated, right? So we need to have, proper fluid intake, proper fluid balance that is reflective of a homeostatic state and range within one's vessel, right? Then when we think beyond that, when we think in terms of training or competition, hydration is crucial for several reasons. It helps maintain, again, normal blood fluid volume levels. It supports muscle function, helps regulate, body temperature. Additionally, hydration is important because it helps prevent injury, right? So again, these are some key reasons why, hydration is important for athletes. Additionally, hydration helps, optimize cognitive ability as well. So again, those are just some of the key, reasons why hydration is, it's important for athletes. And again, all of these key reasons, definitely contribute to an athlete being able to perform at his or her peak, at an optimal level. And so again, I just wanted to follow up from, dropped my highlighter. I just wanted to follow up from, part one of this 2-part video series and just engage a little bit more about some of the physiological functions of dehydration, why water isn't enough, some of the key electrolytes to look out for, especially sodium, and then after sodium, I would say potassium. And then some of those key hydration assessments, you can, perform either on yourself or, seek out a sports dietitian or nutritionist. And then lastly, just in general terms, why hydration is important for athletes, So again, I hope today's video was informative. I hope it is aligned with, your wellness journey as it relates to not only nutrition, but exercise physiology, and then the marriage between both of those, which is known as sports nutrition. And so again, family, I always want to leave you all with, amazing, health, high expectations. And so, the drill. I look forward to seeing you all in the next video, family. And until next time, family, I wish you all inner wealth, which we know is the overall state of our holistic health inner wealth champions. Peace.